Martha, thank you for talking to us about your approach to documentary theater and the documentary theater in Greece. And can you tell us a bit about how and why did you start doing documentary theater?
You asked me to go back into the deep, deep past. Well, everything occurred in a very organic way, I would say, because, I didn't wake up, obviously, one day, having decided that I will do documentary theater. This is a kind of process that was revealed to me throughout the years. I had always had a fascination about documentary filmmaking, which is my great love in a sense. So I love cinema. I love its capability to reach out to wider audiences. I love the filmic language and the many possibilities that it opens up, technically speaking. And I love also the potential impact that filmmaking has on the audiences, on the level of societies. So that was there from the beginning, like almost more than 10 years ago when we decided to create our own production company, which today, Place to Place, which is the name of our production company, is split into 3 domains: filmmaking, TV series making, and theater making, and in particular documentary theater making. So before I dived into the fascinating territory of documentary theater, which is not a demarcated genre, no way, it's a very fluid territory, and every artist kind of perceives and explores it throughout different means and methodologies, and this is very productive and very healthy. But before I got there, I had this, tendency to look for an existing place that had some reality element in their core. So I remember, for example, that one of our first theater plays that we ever staged was Family Stories, written by Biljana Srbljanović, which is a Serbian playwright, and the play reflected on the sequences of the war in ex-Yugoslavia, for example. So that was there as well as a tendency to reach out to actual events, to what happens around us in the socio-political context. And then social anthropology came along, which is my scientific discipline, and everything kind of fell into place. Social anthropology and ethnography in particular, which is the methodological stream of social anthropology. So when I started years ago my PhD and entered this territory, I was fascinated by this potential to reach out to the real and to the political real through a human language. So social anthropology made me consider what it means to open up a space of shared trust, of familiarity, of what I used to call shared vulnerability between the researcher and the community, which is under research in many brackets, because this is a reciprocal process at the end of the day. So these methodologies and these ethics of social anthropology, little by little, started to infuse my work in theater without understanding that at first, without having, realized that the way I was approaching theater was filtered through the territory of social anthropology and ethnography. This came as a revelation years after, when I realized that the process of developing a play, a documentary theater play, was sharing elements with this research territory. And I asked myself, why am I fascinated by this? And the answer was obvious to me, because I think that theater becomes more powerful when it touches upon the political through the human. When it bypasses the didactic or sometimes loud way it has to point out socio-political, heavily charged socio-political issues, and chooses instead to highlight them through the subjective perspective of an experience of other people. So I entered this trip, and it felt relevant to my ethics. It felt relevant to the tools that I was interested to explore, and this is something that brought me here today, to share the most personal work that I have ever done in theater, Pietà, that you have already watched, through this mutual process of sharing an emotionally loaded trip, both for the people that came together and trusted this process, this unfamiliar artistic process, real people that were dealing with an immense trauma, women that lost their children, that their daughters were victims of femicides, but also for us as an artistic team. So I'm here, and I feel that I'm occupying a space within which I feel vulnerable and safe and not safe at the same time. And what I'm trying to say is that I'm lucky to be working in a territory, and after almost 8 years, to still challenge my convictions, to still question my ideologies, to still feel vulnerable towards other people, to still be outside my comfort zone. And to me, this is what keeps things alive, creatively, but also sociopolitically, in a sense.
So, you have answered part of my next question. I want to ask is, what is the joy of documentary theater to you? So one thing is you felt being challenged constantly. So this drive, but after at the theater, you said this is your eighth documentary documentary theater production. So what gave you the drive to keep going on doing documentary theater? What is the joy?
Well, first of all, to me, the biggest joy has a lot to do with the fact of this element of insecurity. You can never know where an idea that is, very blurry in your head in the beginning will end up to. Like, you can really never know the trip that we are going to make. I mean, this journey of documentary theater has a lot to do not only with what happens on stage, because at the end of the day we do theater as everyone else. This is a piece of theater work as well. But what makes it really significant to me as an experience is the journey that precedes the staging and the journey that follows it. And this has to do with the constitutional elements of documentary theater, human-wise, which are the people that you meet in this process, that are people that have nothing to do with the artistic community with which you're familiar. You talk the same language. It's your colleagues, your partners. It's a totally new and unexplored territory that you can never know where it's going to get you. Because, like I said before, it's all about human interactions. It's all about sharing. It's all about daring. Because I exit my comfort zone as an artist, and I enter this field asking people technically to do the impossible, to trust me throughout this journey. And so the impossibility lays in the fact that without having realized it consciously, at the epicenter of my work lies the element of trauma. So I normally touch upon stories and subjects that have a really emotionally loaded or traumatic core to negotiate. So this is something, of course, not to take for granted, and something that calls for the energy and the trust of people that are not familiar with this process. So there is this journey that precedes the staging, and then, which is to me the most important gift that this theater grants me, is the story that follows, the journey that follows. What happens with these interactions? What happens with these meetings? What happens with these new provisional families that we create throughout the process? There is something that stays with us. There is something after this process that alters us, that moves us in an organic way, in a non-always conscious way, to kind of exit our comfort zones, to kind of challenge our beliefs, to revisit our perspectives, in a sense. You know why? Because these are people that are not like the usual suspects, like-minded artistic people belonging to our community that will kind of sympathize with what we have in mind. No, they are people that some of them have no previous experience of watching even theater. And it is very, very healthy, artistically and politically, when theater opens up to these communities. So, to me, the most positively speaking, challenging element of doing this theater, of remaining into this territory, which is hard to take. It's hard to work on this territory, for sure. It gives you something back that is really precious. And I'm not talking only, for myself. I mean, and I'm not only talking about what I get back, what I receive as a person, but I'm also referring to the potential of this theater to become a genuinely popular theater. And by popular, I mean to kind of break down this elitistic, if you like, surface and reach out to communities that have no previous either knowledge or a habit of, going into theaters and watching performances. And why am I saying this? I'm saying this because I find this potential in documentary theater. I used to call it popular theater because there are many names to follow what we do. Documentary theater, reality-based theater, verbatim theater. I mean, the ethnographer John Seldan, I think he has selected like 89 terms.
Yes.
Not
nearly 100.
terms.
Nearly 100
nearly
terms
100.
in his book.
So my point is that there is a serious potential there, to me, to my understanding. You bring on stage themes and stories that are heavily related to socio-political, current socio-political, ongoing socio-political struggles and challenges of our societies, local societies, wider societies, because we don't only do local themes, but themes that also have, an international aspect or impact. So this element is there, relevance to what matters to us as members of the society. And the second thing, it is a genre, in a sense, that is very inclusive. I think it's the only theater territory that carries this inclusivity. It opens a door and it welcomes people that have nothing to do with our familiar artistic community. This is a gift to us, to the artist. It is very healthy, I insist on that, to kind of exit your bubble, to reach out to the real world, to people that in real circumstances, most probably you would never have had the option or the possibility to meet throughout your life. And to me this is fascinating. And this is something that was revealed to me first because of ethnography, because of social anthropology. And I exit this field, this stage, richer, way richer. And I think that these elements are more than enough to keep me going on this direction. It feels endless to me, that the possibilities feel endless. The possibilities not only in the socio-political realm, but also how they transform into artistic raw material. The combinations.
I totally agree. I remember I said I went to, in the second festival, in the second edition of the festival, I went to Australia and I talked to an artist, David what, I forget the name.
Okay, happens all the time.
Boy, David Williams, and he said exactly the same thing. He said that the biggest joy to him of documentary theater is that he can become an expert of a particular field in at least in the time when he was preparing a particular show. So that is also same to me. I think because I think in the beginning, 10 years ago when I started doing documentary theater, it was because I felt a bit bored by what I'm doing and what I'm seeing in the theater in Hong Kong. It seems there's nothing related with the reality outside the theater. So And yeah, so so what's the biggest challenge then after doing these pieces of documentary theater? What do you think is the biggest challenge of documentary theater to you as a creator, as a director?
Well, I will stick to two aspects because I mean, we have been discussing on, you know, the positive effects of doing documentary theater, but it's high time that we, you know, ground ourselves to the limitations of the genre. Documentary theater, no matter how potentially popular can become in terms of engagement and inclusivity, it still hasn't succeeded, at least not yet, in bringing into the theater people that do not sympathize with our causes. And let me explain myself. Theater, if you detect, culturally speaking, what we call theater goers, the audience of the theater, not documentary theater, but theater in general. My impression is that we are talking about a community of like-minders. We are talking about people that kind of feel, emotionally and ideologically speaking, as we feel. People that when they watch a social issue on stage, it is to them what it is to us. It is a wrongdoing of the state. It is a crime that has been committed under the gaze of the international community. They sympathize with our cause. And there is nothing wrong with that, I mean, in the first place. But the point I'm trying to make here is that how way more productive would it be if theater managed to bring in people who disagree, people that think otherwise. Because unless these people reach the room, what kind of, you know, transformation are we talking about? If we are all here transformed beforehand, before, you know, the experience takes place, if we are all, you know, sympathizing with, you know, with the cause, with the journey, before this even happens, before this even kind of unfolds before our eyes. So it is critical, it is pivotal, it is paramount that we do something, I don't know what, and I'm asking out loud because I haven't found a way either. I haven't given myself an answer to that. How on earth can we bring people that are not family, that are not at the very dangerous quote, at the right side of history? How can we do that? I have small glimpses of this potential because every time that, you know, I happen to talk to a person, someone from the audience, that it's not that they do not sympathize with what we do, but it's like when I hear, oh my God, this subtle quality that you unfold on stage, this other reality, this reflection that to me, it never occurred to me beforehand. And now after watching this show, I mean, it was a revelation. It was something that I thought of for the first time. Small steps, not like a a huge shift into, our big theories and ideologies, but something really trivial, something really, oh, you know what, I haven't thought of that. And I haven't thought of that, and you made me think of that because the way you communicated this was not, forcibly imposed upon me. It was like revealed to me, given to me as a possibility, as a different shade of reality, as a reflection on another person's mind. And when these small things happen, these, seemingly trivial exchanges between people, I think this is where the transformative power of documentary theater lies. So, this is a question I address to our community, like, yeah, it is a paramount quest how to bring these people in. When you do a play about injustice, about racism, about how Europe kills people on the borders, and we all watch speechless, and of course we sympathize, we are, like I said, at the right side of history. Where are the people that are not following this idea of being equal, the very least? Of, having the right to share the same space freely. Where are these people? Where are the disbelievers? So this is the first challenge. The next issue is of a more ethical quality. It has nothing to do with the other side. It has to do with our side. Documentary theater as a process, at least in my case, entails this danger of approaching people that have undergone, that have experienced traumatic situations. And the question becomes, how can I ever be sure that I will not re-traumatize them? Worst case. How can I be sure that I have something to offer? Because, like I said, it's a reciprocal process, and I strongly believe that we are not here to grasp other people's stories and to transform them into this raw material into, artistic elements. We are here to exchange. We are here to give and to take. So I can never be sure that at the beginning of its journey, that I have something to give back to the people. Because it has a lot to do with not who these people are, not who you are, but what happens to this chemistry in between. How compatible we are, how easily you can understand not only my approach, but also my intentions. And are my intentions good for you? Because no matter what I say, that I do theater, political theater through the human, and this is, this sounds big, this sounds important. Yeah, it's very subjective. I decide that this is important, and it will be, revealed through this approach, through these people. So what happens to these people? What do they get? So ethically speaking, in every step of the process, you challenge yourself with these questions. How much also the extent of exposure We're talking about actual people here, real people. Um, you know, it has happened to me that a person was more ready than I was. There was a person in one of my previous shows that was really ready to talk a lot, to reveal things about their experience, because they felt safe. They felt also that this was a space, a productive space to talk about these challenges. But me, as not only as an artist, as a director, as a dramaturg, but also, you know, as a researcher, as an ethnographer, I felt at that moment that we are entering into dangerous territories and that these truths about this person should not be revealed. You understand? So I had the responsibility proactively of protecting this person, although I had their consent. So you always need to be alert. It's a very tricky territory, very exciting, very productive, emotionally, intellectually. It's a fascinating territory, documentary theater, but it asks for a lot of caution, a lot of, you know, proactivity.
Definitely. Yeah, that's always the first thing as I said, I teach to the students. That's always one of the first things I say to the students, that you are dealing with real people, and it is real emotions, and you have the responsibility to them, and so you better think twice before you really want to do a documentary theater works. Yes.
Of course, this is why, to me, the educational aspect is paramount. I mean, now that I have kind of become more confident and at the same time unsafe, but now that I know my tools, I know my limitations, I know I have like spotted my challenges, I feel that these layers, these elements should be communicated to younger people, to people that are genuinely interested into this territory. And this is why the domain of education over the last years has taken over a great part of my profession.
Okay.
Because it is also like we do here on the occasion of an interview. I mean, we're opening up this behind the scenes process, and to me this is very healthy. It's very healthy. It's very important to stick to the process of doing theater and not only on the fact of the artistic output itself.
Yeah.
And this is why, I mean, we have started also this idea about the International Network of Documentary Theater. This is why we're trying to connect with other artists, with other cultural contexts, with other ways and perceptions of doing documentary theater. Because the more you open up, the more, how to say, the more progressive you become as a person, not only as an artist. The more open to welcome diversity, the more open to welcome also parts of yourself that were not easy to admit that were there, in a sense.
Can we use a bit, I use Pieter, the show I saw yesterday, as the example. How did you, what brought you to this subject matter? Why did you start this topic? It seems very heavy. Well, it's very heavy. No, it seems it's very heavy.
It is, but now a big discussion opens about, the cultural setup. I don't know how familiar you are with the issue, the huge issue of gender violence in Europe, not only in Greece.
Not much.
And I don't know what happens on your cultural side. That would be an interesting question to have after we wrap. So gender violence is something that has been occupying our local and also European discourse since many years, more than 5 years already, because the way women are treated on all levels, the educational level, the professional level, the interpersonal level, is very problematic. So there is a lot of inequality, the very least, and there is a lot of prejudice and there is a lot of discrimination gender-wise. And lately, as it has been publicly revealed, women undergo gender violence in all aspects of their lives. So this is a territory that started occupying my mind as a woman, first of all, and afterwards as an artist. I decided to unload Pietà on stage, first of all as a woman, and second of all as a director or as a dramaturg. I felt the need to contribute to this public domain, to this visibility that has opened a new understanding of what happens on this aspect. And I felt that the language of theater, the language of documentary theater, could offer a different contribution to this challenge. And I chose to go all the way and to touch upon the more, let's say, extreme version of gender violence, which is femicide. And I was very aware that I was entering a really, really, really dark and painful territory. But as a woman, first of all, I was determined to try to make this contribution. It's not the first time that my work has been infused with gender-based elements. My previous work as well, The Journeys of Penelope, was a reversed odyssey from the perspective of, the heroine Penelope, and not from the male perspective. My first documentary film.
You showed me the video before in the beginning of our conversation. Emma,
which video? The Journeys of Penelope?
No, the video of one of your performance about the.
Oh, then you probably watched Amaranthos.
Amaranthos, yes, it's also.
I was about to go there, of course, and before the Journeys of Penelope, again, 2018, I worked a performance for Athens and Epidavros Festival, Amaranthos, whose subject matter was a very heavy case of gang rape of an underage student of foreign origin. The girl was a migrant, who was of, a migrant origin as well. So these elements were there, and they kind of reached a peak today, in a sense, because today the visibility as regards gender violence and gender-based inequalities and struggles that we need to undergo as women on a daily basis on all aspects of our lives is tremendous. It's not okay anymore because I mean we have internalized, you know, patterns of patriarchy for ages, and it is the first time after many years, not only in Greece, but I guess this is, you know, a phenomenon that is gradually gaining more and more ground, and it's very healthy that we start talk about it. It's something that it was not present before in the public discourse, and now it is. So Pietà came at a very critical moment to make this contribution. And like I said, I decided through this show to reach the ultimate trauma, the act of femicide, the act of killing a person because of gender, the act of a man killing a woman because of this aspect of her personality. So again, it was a very organic process that led to today's performance. And I was very aware that it was going to be a really loaded, emotionally loaded trip. But it was every moment of it. Like, it was totally worth it. And I know I talk on behalf of other people that join, you know, this journey. But to me, the biggest gain was to realize in retrospect that, you remember what we talked about, whether I have something to give up to other people. The 5 mothers that came together and we made this journey together. They themselves, they have created a family. They searched for each other. They became stronger through each other. And they endorsed Pietà in an inconceivable way. They encouraged us to create Pietà, to co-create Pietà, because they felt the need themselves to talk about their experience, not through a self-victimizing perspective, but through the eyes of a mother that, yes, she has lost a daughter to femicide, but what she wants to say is that her private grief, her loss, is a driving force to come out publicly and to throw herself into the struggle against gender violence and any kind of violence. And to me, this is so brave, this is so empowering, this is so paramount to share, this strength, this feminine strength that these women carry because of and despite of their ultimate trauma, their ultimate loss. It's tremendous, their power. It has to be shared. It has, because this is not, you know, this is not a requiem about women that are not with us anymore. This is a very sharp, politically speaking, documentary theater piece that transcends the territories, the personal, the private territories, the intimate territories of someone else's experience in order to touch upon exactly these political aspects. Speaking about, you know, the wider challenge, the wider social issue of gender violence.
Did you start, did the four actresses join you in the very beginning or sort of in the midway of your creative process?
Sort of in the midway. This time around, I started a very lonely process. At first I was lost because I didn't even know how to touch upon such a subject. I mean, I was really suffering. I was like, I don't really know if this idea about a play that touches upon the subject of femicides will ever find its way to the stage. This insecurity we're talking about, because I didn't know how. And my instinct, at the end of the day, drove me towards other women. And then I said, yes, this is it. I started off as a woman. So the answer is there. I need to reach out to other women. It cannot be otherwise. It's the only way possible. So I first started looking for the mothers, and I was really blessed because I didn't do this, kind of archive research. Okay, who are the mothers that, because they're public figures by now, we all know the cases and we talk about cases and about numbers, and this is very problematic. Here we're talking about people, about personalities, about lives with pasts and a future that was not meant to be a future. So I searched for the first mother, Alexandra Macu, and I could never imagine what followed. And this mother took me by the hand and drove me to another mother, and this other mother to another mother, because they had, before I approached them, they had already reached out for each other. So they kind of opened up this family, this very
To invite you to the
special
family. Yeah.
this feminine company of tenderness, of mutual support, of mutual empowerment, and they let me in, and I'm grateful for that. And when I felt that, yes, this is the way, dramaturgically speaking, this is how the story is going to unfold through their eyes, through their perspective, through their experiences, it was the moment that I felt ready to reach for the rest of the creative partners, starting with the ensemble of the female actors. And I have to say, this is an all-female cast and crew. It couldn't be otherwise. It's not that we excluded men from the creative process, but organically we reached out to other female partners.
Why did you decide to use four? Because there are five mothers, but now you use four actresses. Why did you decide? Why did you make that decision?
To me, it's a very nice question and a tricky one, but I will not bite because to me it is obvious that we are not talking about impersonalization. It's not that we have 5 cases, so now these 5 cases correspond to 5 actresses, because I don't believe, creatively speaking, in the process of becoming one with the role. I'm more of the, in a sense, of the Brechtian approach. Again, it needs a lot of elaboration. My approach when it comes to directing the actors, so I keep some distance, and to me this distance is vital, because the subjects are always very loaded emotionally, and I do not want to clinch on the emotion. I don't want to bombard the audience with emotion. Yeah. Because, I mean, it kind of wakens the political sharpness that such a story entails. So to me it was clear that you will not see on stage an actress that impersonates the mother, and this is why the same actress is at one moment a mother, and at another moment another mother, and at the third moment the girl that was assassinated, and at the fourth moment herself, breaking the fourth wall and putting the personal element of documentary theater that came out in the process during the rehearsals, letting it become visible on stage. There is a part in the play, in the show, that we talk about personal experiences. So it's not stories that we carry with our bodies and our voices, but it's our material.
Yeah.
So to me it was clear that I would break this, balance of looking for 5 people, because this would be, confusing for the audience. They would enter with the idea that, okay, 5 cases, 5
So
actresses.
it's only just about 5 cases.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah, I
So
think
it was intentional that it's not 5, it's 4, and they do not correspond to a single,
I think it's a very clever and very good choice, in fact. I want to know a bit about the general documentary theater scene here. So before you did, and you and Anestis did documentary theater, was there any documentary theater here?
Anestis and Prodromos have been doing documentary theater way before I did. They have been, in the local scene at least, to my knowledge, the first duet, because they started together, but they're doing works separately as well, that initiated, established in a sense the term. The term is not yet popular. Can you imagine? I mean, we've been doing documentary theater, locally speaking, almost 20 years. And if you ask, a person in the potential audience, many of them still do not really know what we are talking about. And my question is, what are we talking about? I mean, like I said in the beginning, it's a very, very, very multi-layered territory to explore. Every creator, every artist has their own approach, which is great, and we differ a lot. I mean, if you see, without, the title of documentary theater, a piece of X artist and Z artist in Greece, you will say, we're talking about the same genre here. And to me, this is super creative, because it's not, I don't know what happens in Hong Kong. It's a pity we don't have the chance, to reciprocate another time. Maybe we will invite you.
We will continue our conversation, definitely.
In the next edition of Documentary Theatre Network. But I mean, this pluralism means that there is so much ground for further exploration.
Yeah.
And of course, there is this generation that pre-existed, starting from Anestis and Prodromos, and there is also a new generation that enters the territory. Younger people that are now, testing the tools and the potentials of documentary theater. And it is great to watch their works and to open up this, space for discussion and exchange. And it becomes more present, at least in Greece. 2023 is way more established as a concept, documentary theater, than like a decade ago, which means that little by little it becomes an equal part of the contemporary dramaturgies, and it deserves to be an equal part of contemporary dramaturgies. And my constant question has always been, why on earth the only one and only play that has been scripted and published on the whole planet, maybe this is the Laramie Project. I am desperately trying to find the scripts of other documentary theater works, and they're not existing in any database. Of course, there are more works published by now, for sure. I'm using this as an exaggeration that it is hard to find and to follow, for research purposes, for creative purposes, to find the trace of documentary theater. It is very hard to follow on that level. You don't have access to the plays. They are hardly ever published.
You mean in Greece? 10 years ago in Greece?
In Greece still today, yeah. If you go to a bookstore that specializes in theater books, you will find, contemporary dramaturgies, but you will not find contemporary dramaturgies of the real. They are not scripted, they are not yet considered officially as dramaturgical elements of contemporary dramaturgy. And we have a lot of, steps to make in order to kind of suggest or demand that this is an equal dramaturgical genre and has to be scripted, has to have an imprint, to leave a trace for the future. And this is what we're trying to do as a network. I mean, one of the first goals, the primary goals of the International Network of Documentary Theatre is to start a series of publications, not only of Greek plays, theatre plays, but also worldwide, to make a repository.
Yeah,
the audience is here. The perfect ending.
Yes, the audience is coming out. Yeah.